Speaking with the Democrat leader in the Missouri House, Hummel, I want to take a few minutes. Just first of all, your initial reaction to tonight's State of the State address, the final from Governor Nixon.
On the surface, I'm very excited. $200 million more for mental health services. I think something that seems to have a very strong bipartisan reaction to. Obviously, people can appreciate that that's needed. Another $150 million towards funding the foundation formula. Keeping our promise to Missouri students that we're going to fund our education system, and a new veterans home. I think those are all really important issues, and I'm glad that we have the money to fund those. Also, I agree. I think it's time to work with Senator Leibla and some of the other individuals to fund our transportation system. I know everyone knows how close we were to not having that federal match. Kind of a scary thing to try to figure out how to fund. And I think it's time that we increase the gas tax marginally.
Republican leadership in your chamber not necessarily in favor of that, but I don't know if we've got the pulse of that entire caucus. Do you think a tax could pass in the House?
I do. I think it can, and I think probably they're going to be cautious and wait to see if it gets out of the Senate. And so I think the Senate has a lot of work to do to get it over here. And if it comes over here, it's going to be very hard for them not to bring up and at least attempt passage.
The Republicans that I could see from where I was sitting were absolutely silent when the governor was talking about Medicaid expansion, even a Missouri solution, as we've heard Republicans talk about in the past. That's been an issue that you've pushed for since you've been minority leaders and even before. Does it have a path forward this year with Republicans in control?
I really don't know that it does. It's very disappointing. As the governor said, 30 states have expanded Medicaid. I think we've kind of passed the test where we've a clear majority of states have expanded this, including Republican legislatures and Republican governors. And for Missouri to just keep pretending like that's not the law of the land and not the best way forward, turning away 24,000 jobs, turning away our tax dollars that go to the federal government, I think is just plain wrong and hurtful.
At least 2 calls, I want to say 3 for ethics reform. We've heard the governor talk about that a lot. You've seen, of course, what's going on in these first couple of weeks of the session. When he says real, meaningful ethics reform, in your mind, what does that mean?
When I think of real, meaningful ethics reform, I think campaign contribution limits. Certainly, I will give Speaker Richardson credit. He's a man of his word, and he's moved ethics bills forward when no one else has, and I commend him for that. And I've pledged the Speaker to work with him on issues related to ethics. I've worked with some of his members on this, and I'm excited that we're at least having these conversations, passing these bills out of the chamber. Is real ethics reform possible without campaign contribution limits? Probably not, in my opinion. However, at this point, I think things have gotten so bad that we have to have some marginal steps forward.
Any other takeaways tonight? Anything that you think the speech maybe gives you momentum for in this session?
I mean, like I said, I think funding the foundation formula is fantastic, and what I think actually needs to happen is, we're talking about 2,500 kids that are in struggling school districts that are going to go to kindergarten. They're going to go to pre-K, or preschool, early childhood. And, I think that we need that across the state, and I really think that's the way forward for Missouri. Every study that you look at, we talk about what's going to improve the overall education picture for our children, and time again, the number one thing is early childhood education. We have to get our kids in school sooner and instill in them that learning at an early age, and that is what seems to drive test scores up across the country. And so I'm very excited that we're going to be able to do that the governor's putting it in the foundation formula. I would certainly like to see it expanded to every school in the state.
Hummel, thanks for your time.
Thank you.